All right. All right. What's up?
What's up?
Well, we're live. That's what's up.
We're live. So we are.
Yeah. Everybody's checking in. I'm checking in. For Excel, I'll have you know I played 18 holes yesterday. It was so hot and it was in the 90s. Really humid. It was tough. I didn't know if I was going to make it around the course. I walked. And I have this little bag that I use, has double straps around my shoulders, and I don't take all my clubs. So just makes it's a little lighter, you know. And but man, it was brutal. It was tough. A couple moments I had the idea. I asked myself, is this a dumb thing for me to be doing out here by myself?
I was gonna ask, it was just you out there?
Yeah. But I was playing behind or in front of people, so I knew that if I collapsed, they were gonna roll up on me at some point.
You had backup.
I had that going for me. Yeah, it was tough. And then each time I hit a bad shot, I had an excuse, which was that I was exhausted and I couldn't even see straight. It's half the time. But
Do you have to do more on your own when it's just you out there? Or like when you have other people out there, is it like a team grabbing balls together? Like I
yeah,
just don't golf.
sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes, right? If you kind of hit your ball in the rough or whatever, somebody will, and someone will help you look for it, that kind of stuff. There was actually a little like dust up a couple weeks ago at the Senior Open that this player had lost his ball in the rough, and the TV announcer was kind of standing there but didn't help him find the ball, and the guy was kind of annoyed at him. But the TV announcer, what the player didn't know is the TV announcer was talking to his producer, and the producer was saying, "Hey, listen, you're going to be live in just a hot minute, so get ready." You know, like he was in conversation with the producer, and the player's like, "Look, yeah, you only have a certain amount of time to find your ball. If you can't find it, then you get a penalty stroke." So anyway, it was a kind of an interesting thing. So, which is the kind of thing, right? Sometimes I'm in class and I'm not speaking because someone's Jamie or Jeff or Julie, someone's talking in my ear, and people don't know that they're talking in my ear, and then I have to really block out. I have to turn my other mic down so that whatever people are saying in the microphone doesn't come through my other ear, and so I can hear this ear. And then I come back and I realize I didn't hear what they said, so I have to either just pretend and hope it was all right. Just go like, "Oh yeah, that's interesting," when in fact maybe they were asking me a question.
Wow, I didn't. That's like the zooming in of how much you're multitasking in that moment.
Yeah.
You know, that's funny.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was called a dust up either.
Dust up is a thing. Maybe that's a Toledo thing. I don't know. Other people use that. Dust up, it's just kind of like imagine like two people come together. There's a skirmish, and there's like it gets dusty for a hot minute. I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah. Got it. That's cool.
No.
Have you been I know you posted like a little PowerPoint. Have you been paying attention to a lot that's happening throughout the week?
You know what? I have been, and kind of for better or for worse. Sometimes I try not to, but but at the same time, I'm not super invested in it, and I think because I just can't be, man. I can't be. So I mean, on one end, I am. I'm like, oh my god, but on the other hand, look, my little old me, just like any single one of us, is not going to have much of an impact on the outcome of global events, and so you just have to. So you have to just kind of follow and do and use it to better understand. But in the end, like there's very little that any one of us are going to do. So,
right.
By the way, in many cultures, meat I have a bowl of grapes. Me eating grapes and talking at the same time it's just highly problematic. So I should cover my mouth.
So if anybody's offended watching,
Yeah.
we're just kidding.
Well, there's got to be a culture out there where eating and talking is highly valued. Your ability to eat and talk and not spit food out is probably quite valued. So whatever culture that is, that's the one that I'm following in this moment. So those of you who are offended by me eating and talking, just know that I'm following this other culture. And,
We can see in the chat if anybody is.
all right. Hey, Jeff, by the way, so the stream started about 7 minutes ago, and I just got my first ad after 7 minutes, and I clicked off it pretty quickly. But is it set up? Did we have it set up to not have too many ads right away, right?
It's supposed to be every 30 minutes, and it's supposed to be based on when the person has joined the stream. So hypothetically, if you just joined, like I know that Dawn just joined, she shouldn't get one until our local time of like 3:35-ish. But I mean, I'd set up for every 30 minutes. Maybe it's because you jumped onto the stream early that you got an ad
No,
too soon.
no, I didn't. I jumped on right after, right 2 minutes before it started.
Interesting.
So anyway, let's check on that and see. Let's make sure, because it's kind of annoying.
So
I
are
mean, to
people
have
getting,
too many ads.
Yeah.
Well,
while you're
anybody.
recording, you get an ad? What do you mean?
What's it? Well, the ads pop up on the stream, right? And the problem is people will have the idea that we control that. And so when someone has too many ads, it feels like they're just gouging for money. I mean, we're not making any money off of this. Even these office hours, even after they're up for a few weeks or so, maybe we'll make $1 or 80 cents or something. We really do not make much money. We just put ads on everything. And so, but I don't want people to think we're trying to gouge them for money. People have the idea that they hear about these, YouTubers that make tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month kind of thing, right? Yeah, there's a handful of them, but the vast majority are folks like us that make a small amount of money.
Right. And so you can only change like the what did Jeff say he was trying to do? Like change the duration.
There's lots of different
when it
options.
plays?
Yeah, there's lots of different options that YouTube gives now, and one of them is we can manually put in ads. So like while we're streaming, I can have the like the behind the scenes screen set up on YouTube where I can insert an ad whenever, or you can set it up for frequent or a conservative amount of ads or a progressive amount of ads. I think is the languages that they use for YouTube. And essentially it's just how often do you want ads to pop up. Ours should be roughly every 30 minutes that a person is watching, an ad should pop up. So during office hours, you'll get one when you join, and then usually it should be one every 30 minutes after. I did check, it was like last semester I checked because we got a ton of messages like in comments on like multiple videos like I would watch this class more, but there's so many ads. And I went through and YouTube just automatically places ads anywhere that it thinks it would be a good spot. And it would be like one lecture would have like 15 to 20 ads. And I was like, that's way too many. It's like every 2 minutes for some of the sections. So I've started to go through and delete them. I'm not perfect with it, so I'm sure that there's too many ads still, but we are trying to reduce them as much as possible.
But the question is, why did I get an ad 7 minutes into the class or 8 minutes in?
That's a great
into
question.
This stream.
Let's see the next time you get an ad. It's really hard for me because I mean I could probably just do an incognito window. I have premium, so I never get ads, and so it's kind of like I've been a little blind to this because I don't live with ads on YouTube.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll be in touch with it. I'll be aware. Hey, can you put up that that slide about Chinese students?
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I've been thinking about this. Elijah, can you see it?
Not yet. I saw it earlier,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's not up.
Yeah.
Actually,
Well,
I'm not on the stream actually, so I wouldn't see it anyway.
I've been giving some thought to, how everything has unintended consequences, right? So I'm thinking about, this making it really difficult for Chinese students to come here and study. Well, we have hundreds of thousands of Chinese students studying here, and the majority are for undergraduate degrees, and they're just showing up in universities around the country, and then sometimes like this is University of Illinois in Urbana, Champaign, kind of very much like Penn State, small town, and Chinese students started coming, and then naturally there's infrastructure around, right? Restaurants. We have a similar thing. We had a kind of flood of restaurants when there was a big bump in the number of Chinese students studying here about 10 years ago. And we saw a corresponding big bump in restaurants. And I'm just thinking about these kinds of consequences like that. I saw this article and I thought it was really interesting.
What's the reason it says only Chinese? I would assume that like whoever is there, it would have, because of the floods, like more than just Chinese would have had to migrate like move somewhere else.
Well,
is it just, what's the focus on Chinese?
Because the Chinese are the largest number of students that are studying there. For us, it's Chinese and also Gulf students from the Gulf, particularly Saudi Arabia, but also Emiratis and Kuwaitis. And so I think they just happen to have a big uptick in Chinese students. And, this is a small town, right? So you get these people, they open a restaurant, everything is going, and then boom, the dominoes start falling. And I think it's interesting how life is like that, that there are so many things that are in place and that are experience consequences to decisions that get made up above, right? So, like Penn State closing down some of its Commonwealth campuses. We have these campuses around the state, and some have as few as about 600, 700 students. And Penn State made the decision that it's going to have to cut, I think 7 of them, close them in the next couple of years. And, that's going to have a rippling effect in the economies. And so, it's we get that, right? Like that's part of why I think Penn State hesitated to close the campuses. They first started talking about this 25 years ago is when I remember having, hearing people talking about whether they were ultimately going to need to do that. And it took this long. But, that's the kind of thing with Trump. Jeff, you can take that off now, off the screen.
What's the reason? I don't know if you want to continue this direction, but I was going to ask the reason they did close them in the first place.
Well,
a few of these, if you know.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem. It's a cost thing.
So they weren't making enough return, like on these universities.
Well, it's not just that; it's really complicated, right? So, the ideal situation is Penn State students can do a 2. You did a 2+2, right?
Yep.
So you did 2 years at where, Harrisburg?
Berks campus, which I think is one of the Commonwealth that's around.
Yeah, it's one of the largest ones, right? So it's a really good sized campus. So when you go to Berks, you feel like you're at a small university.
Small,
and we have a couple like Du Bois, which I think has 400 students enrolled, and there's basically 2 or 3 buildings, and that's it. There's really very little there, and so the problem is, at a university, what are you going to offer, right? Like you have to offer people the ability to first off, you have to offer classes, so that means you have to have professors to teach them. How many do you have to have in a class before it's worth paying that professor to teach, the instructor, right? That's a consideration. If you've got a class of 6 students, there's not much revenue coming in for the price that you got to pay. And, and you got to not only pay that professor, but you have to pay all the other overhead that goes along with it. So that's one of the biggest things, is that these are areas where they can no longer offer any majors. Like you can't go to these campuses and do 4 years and expect to get a major. Like to get a degree from Penn State, it's just not possible. And so that's the biggest reason. It's just cost and efficiency. Yeah.
And the amount and like the funding, I'm assuming that they're getting from.
Yeah, well, yeah, you mean you have funding from the main campus, but the main campus can't sustain,
The main campus funds is.
Well, the university administration funds, and most of the funding is coming into the main campus, right? Just like Penn State sports are funded mostly by Penn State football, so all that revenue gets filtered down to things like women's, like the lacrosse teams, or that kind of stuff, gymnastics, golf. Golf doesn't make any money, so you can't offer. He's going out and buying tickets to the golf matches and that kind of stuff. So it's Penn State football that really funds all that stuff.
Got it. Okay.
So people who say, "Hey, football, this is a big problem." Well, when you come onto campus and you see that, you really see all that. This is not a support of Penn State football, you know what I mean? Or this kind of economism of football. But you see that the women's softball team has a stadium that was built about 15 years ago. And, they used to play on this old field, and now they have a little, it's a very small stadium, but it's nice. And the field hockey and lacrosse and it's a thing, right? But that gets funded. So,
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so if you might think, well, it's a really bad idea. But if your kid is a swimmer or a diver, and they've been swimming and diving their whole life, and their dream is to swim or dive at a university, and then maybe hopefully try out for something like the Olympics or something like that. Well, if you're one of those people, or it's your cousin or your nephew or your niece or your grandchild or whatever it is, then for you, this is a really good thing. Like, hey, it's great. Penn State football is so strong, it can fund the swimming and diving teams, offset the cost of them. So they have a van or a bus, and they can travel to the meets, all that kind of stuff, man. So this is where life, again, it's like when you understand how things work, everything is pretty complicated, and it's never easy to just make these big brash decisions about something.
Are you bringing this up just because how you're aware of some of the criticisms that Penn State football gets for the amount of funding that they receive?
Honestly, Carl, I don't know why I'm bringing it up. I don't know what we said that I like. Oh, it was closing the campuses. That's what we were doing. And so it started with the Chinese students. Yeah. So the Trump administration says, hey, we're going to shut down. We got all these Chinese coming here. They're taking our best ideas and they're taking them home and they're enriching themselves and this kind of stuff. Or they're spies. I mean, there are all sorts of things. I mean, the stuff, the messaging coming out of the White House is pretty all over the place, right? But, well, I don't know. I'm not in national security kind of thing, but what I certainly see is I just see average kids young people who are no different than other young people in class, and they just want to come to the U.S. They have a dream of coming to the U.S., man. Like, people have that dream. And they, almost all of them want to go back to China. They want to work here for a year or two because they want to get experience working in the West. But then they want to go back to China, man. Their families are there, their friends are there, their relatives. So,
a narrative around it that, oh, there's like ulterior motives or different reasons. Like Trump, you said with the narratives coming out of the White House, like spies and, but really, if you boil it
Well,
down, it's the
we're
students want the student experience.
yeah, we're educating them, and then they're going back home and competing with us.
Right.
Well, yeah,
right,
we
right.
are, but they're paying a lot of money for that education, and the vast majority are not competing with us in any way. They're just going back home and getting jobs. You know what I mean? Like, or they're taking away the space that could be filled by American students. That's also a really big one. Well, yeah, but okay, hang on. But then at some point in time, we're no longer the best and the brightest, right? And the United States education system is a beacon of education for people all over the world. So nobody's going to Iceland for college. The whole world isn't focused on Iceland, because they got to get a degree from Iceland or whatever, or Russia. You know what I mean? Like, people aren't doing that. I mean, so this. So you got to, this is soft power. It's economic power, it's education power, but it's also soft power. So,
And it sounded like you were like kind of slightly bringing up or maybe think about the idea of, people are like, how much are you supporting like foreign affairs versus like focusing on the people, like the Americans here, like the whole idea of um, Asians,
yeah,
working in the US, then
yeah,
there's not enough jobs for like the Americans. And it's like, oh, support the domestic or
yeah,
are you supporting like foreign affairs? Kind of,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's what it made me think about.
yeah.
But
Well,
it's interesting.
and you think about, I say this all the time, but Silicon Valley, our entire massive expansion of technology in the past 30 years, it's driven so much by people who were born outside the United States.
Yeah.
And, so we absolutely have benefited. And but at some point in time, people, they go back to their countries and then they do what they do and then they compete. But I don't know, that's the thing. We're in a global economy at this point. So we're not going to go back to this way of these nationalist borders in the way that people might imagine we're going to do. So we're going to make America great again.
Yeah,
It's like, come on, man.
the narratives that I'm referencing. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, great.
Exactly.
What? Grate. Make us great Parmesan cheese again, and stop selling it in those little bags. Damn it. You know what I mean? That's what I need.
You lost me for a second.
I want to get a shirt that says "Make America Great Again." Grate. Okay. And then on the back, have a big slice of Parmesan cheese with a little grater, with cheese crumbs falling down.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Because you can't stop selling Parmesan in those plastic bags, man. That's just like so terrible. You open up a bag and the cheese tastes terrible. It's just, oh my God.
That's a funny parody of that, or satire or whatever. That's hilarious.
Well, probably for cheese people, they would
enjoy that.
They would. Someone's out there selling that.
Oh,
I'm sure.
I'm putting up an image right now from Etsy. It's a ban shredded cheese, make America great again mug.
Oh.
For only $12.19, you can get it 25% off until August 1st.
Well, there you go. If you can think of something clever, in all likelihood, somebody else has already thought of it. So that's what I say. Like there you go. Ban shredded cheese. Yeah, that's awesome. That's exactly what I had in mind right there.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
I was imagining the logo with a little like ratatouille rat holding onto the cheese.
Ah, yeah. Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Maybe we should make that for a Social 19 official shirt.
All right. Hey, can you put up that first slide about the Epstein files? And by the way, I noticed that like in Korea, people they like here we kind of will often cup our hands around our mouth when we're sneezing or something like that, so it's like this. In Korea, it's this. It's that. So people are laughing and they don't want to show their open mouth, or if they're eating or
I've seen that.
something like that, it's like this, And it's so interesting. Hey, so wait, can you bring it down a little bit? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Trump administration. Live updates, yeah. President says Epstein critics are being used by Democrats. It's not wild, man. And I mean, this thing, I've been wondering for a long time now. What is it that's going to really in the end be a serious blow to Donald Trump? Because he's been, we used to call Ronald Reagan back in the day the Teflon president. Well, we didn't call him the Teflon president. I forget what we called him, but we had a name for him because nothing ever stuck to him. And then for Clinton, it was the Teflon president because things didn't stick to him. And Trump is very similar. He really has been able to, more than anybody. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I don't have to go down the list of charges or things that he's been accused of or has done or whatever the case is, but or people think he's done, or anyway. But wow, he's just escaped so much. But this thing with Epstein, it just feels like that this is not gonna go away. And what did he call what did he say, Jeff, today to people about people? They were being wimps.
Weaklings, I think, is the word he used on Truth Social.
Calling his followers weaklings. I mean, this is like, these are his most ardent supporters, man. These aren't the liberal Republicans. These are the most hardcore Republicans and people that so supported him. And this is not going to go away. Go ahead, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that, like one of the breaking news videos, how he was like categorizing it as this is just another hoax, and if you want to focus on this hoax, there's other things going on. Just the way, and the way he talks about it, was just really, it's like runs off his shoulder, kind of like the way he talks about it, like this is just a hoax, let's move on. But that's interesting.
It doesn't seem like, I don't know. Now I've been saying this for quite a number of years. At some point, something's going to stick. And I've been wrong every single time. But I'm going to say it. I'm wondering whether this might be the place where he really is stopped, so to speak. Like his ability to just make things go and keep things going. That he can't stop it. And I don't know why people are so concerned about this issue, other than the fact that they've been talking about it forever. I don't know why.
Are concerned with, just like, because he didn't release them, right? They're not all released. It's like some things are being released, but it's not everything.
Well, no, almost virtually nothing at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was virtually nothing. I think the main reason, because Trump talked about releasing it during his run, and I think his fan base really likes the idea of uncovering this corrupt, horrible government that lies and steals and can abuse children and do all these things. And for months, well, for years now, Trump has been saying, we need to go after this. And then now
the deep state,
deep state, and then now they're the deep state because they're the ones running the government. And now the story's changing. And the thing that to me is it's just constantly changing. Like first they had the Epstein files, then they're going to release it. Well, then they didn't release it, and then they released something, but it wasn't the list. It was like heavily redacted, I think. And then all of a sudden, Trump's on Truth Social and on Fox and CNN and every other news channel saying they don't exist. And then now they do exist, but then Trump was saying that it would ruin a bunch of lives. Now he wants everybody to stop talking about it. So it just is very interesting how it's playing out.
Well, it's very interesting, and I think compared to the budget, it really it's probably fairly small in a certain sense, and the way so many other things are potentially playing out. But environmental issues, the budget, the war conflicts, the potential for more war and conflict. I mean, it's just. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a serious issue, but it's not. Comparatively speaking, it's
Like, are you saying
relatively small.
the impact?
Yeah, the
Like if it's like
impact.
they
Yeah,
released it, wouldn't be
I
as
mean,
great.
not for the lives. Many lives have already been really harmed. I mean, especially all of the young people who were at these gatherings back in the day, that kind of thing. I mean, that's not. I don't want to minimize that, but and should they get their justice, right, by having some of these names revealed? I mean, some have been, obviously, but should they get more? Like, yeah, okay, yeah, but not to minimize that, but wow, it's, to me, it's just fascinating that this is the thing that people have really grabbed onto, and who knows? We'll see what happens, but it's also kind of fascinating that there's now a new narrative that's popping up, and the new narrative is that, wow, the deep state, it's so deep that even Trump isn't able to release this information because they're hiding it from him. Even though all along he's been saying, like, yeah, he can, but now they're really hiding it from him. And I'm
The
thinking,
narrative that they're hiding it from him.
yeah, the deep state. Yeah, the deep state is like blocking Trump from releasing this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, man. This conspiracy level is really beyond. And of course, for many people, it goes back to Israel, because Israel is always in one of the, like, there's three legs that are kind of the part of the deep state, and Israel's always one of them.
Wait, where's your woe coming from? Like the fact that they could be hiding it from Trump, or the fact that like there's another new narrative such as this created? Like
I
what
think it's
exactly?
that. I think that no matter what, when you start rolling in the world of conspiracy and that kind of thing, you can just go anywhere you want to go, man. This is like, people who have the idea that God sent Trump here to do the things that God needs to have done, right? So even though Trump, has been, all the crimes he's been charged with and convicted with, and
There's still
all of the things that he's done that are just so anti God, just thoughtful. I'm not gonna say anti-Christian, but just, oh my God, just outside the realm of morality that most people live. Okay, and but for people say, nah, but listen, this is God's way. God sent him because God wasn't going to be able to send a really good person. He had to send somebody like Trump. I mean, the logic of that, which would be, dude, seriously, God's all powerful. God can't figure out another way to do this. You know what I mean? He's got to send this guy to do his bid or her bidding. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like,
sounds like
but
a
this
Rick
is
and Morty episode.
no, dude, yeah,
It's so
exactly.
bad.
But this is the idea that human beings, once we walk into this room of darkness and grayness, we're gonna create any story that we need to create is gonna be okay. It's gonna work for us. And so it's in it, if you're able to kind of step outside and watch and listen, you go like, oh my God. It's like, when you were a kid and you stop believing in the tooth fairy
Right.
or
You're
Santa
saying
Claus.
yeah.
But at some point in time, almost everybody believed in Santa Claus past the time when they shouldn't have believed in Santa Claus. The very
Yeah,
idea
yeah.
that some really large rotund person is going to come down the chimney, because you look up in the chimney and it's about the size, it's as small as a little iPad, it's
Yeah.
like, So then you think like, whoa, wait, I was 6 years old and I was still believing in Santa Claus. Like, oh my God. So anybody can look back and see that, and feel like a sense of shame or embarrassment, but we don't, man. So, we just keep going. It's like, I don't think when you think about the thoughtfulness of theology and all of the questions related to, like just the Bible and the hermeneutics of the Bible, that kind of stuff. I don't think this fits anywhere, that Trump narrative. But, okay, Jeff, I just had another ad. So that was a half hour. That was a half hour.
Yeah, that was a half hour.
Okay. All right.
We're good.
I was gonna say, Sam, until you hear the story of like the parents that went overboard for the 14-year-old or like 13-year-old, and parents like coming down the chimney just to make Santa seem real. Stupid joke. Like, I don't know who's doing
it.
No. to keep the belief alive.
To keep it alive. Well,
yeah, but you're saying like you can't believe that people would actually like believe these stories to make things okay. I think that's one of the things you said, and like that's really being okay, or justified, or when it seems like so out of touch with these other truths of like the thoughtfulness of religion itself, and like how could you
I think that's what it is, really, the thoughtfulness of religion. The thoughtfulness of what religion is able to do for us, really the degree to which any religion, doesn't really matter which one it is, but can point us in the direction of deep reflection and just how awesome and how amazing that is. And yet it can also blind us to things that should be really, really obvious, man. Really obvious. For me, it was I have had a lot of those.
A lot of what?
Just these moments of awakening that I just, when I was younger, I would really critique people who believe, like really heavily critique, strongly, people who believe things that I found to be really outlandish. Like the idea that Donald Trump was sent here by God to do what he's doing because God couldn't come up with another plan. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, right? And then like the gymnastics, if you have to then say, yeah, but Sam, what you're not seeing is, and the gymnastics that you have to do to say yes, but to that very simple idea that God, the all-powerful, didn't have another plan. So he had to send
what's so
Donald
interesting? What's so interesting too is like another blanket narrative or like phrase that could be used against that is so interesting. It's like, well, God works in ways that you could never understand.
I don't understand. Yeah.
Which is so fascinating too.
Well, that takes me to my second one. I remember, I don't know how old I was, but I read the Old Testament. I started from the very first page and I read the first 5 books, right? The Torah. And I got into this and I thought, my God, God is so mean and vengeful and hateful and, supporting mass murder and genocide and so on, right? And I thought, okay, hang on, I'm going to have to do a bunch of gymnastics here to make sense of this, right? I mean, certainly can make sense of it because it's all allegory and it's stories, right? So you want to have a God who's so powerful and can be mean and vengeful and better watch out and take care of yourself. And, this kind of thing, like don't cross her or him. But then does that make sense, right? Like don't cross.
Yeah, I was thinking. Yeah, that's I remember I did this like psych research paper back in the day, and I'm pretty sure that's like almost closer to an exoteric view of God, like watching over you, God.
Yeah,
you need to, because he's watching.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and people need that. It's always nice to. I mean, we don't all need it, but it can be very useful, right? People are watching. Like, there's certain things that I do or don't do because I know Lori will see. Like, for example, I wore these shorts that I wore to class today, and I'm like, Lori's like, dude, if he had seen me, she would have said, "Are you really wearing those to class?" Right. But I did it knowing that because I had to rush out of the house and I just really didn't have time, and I was riding my bike and they're really comfortable on my bike, but the idea that just knowing that this person was going to, who I really trusted and care about, was going to judge me, it really was, it didn't, in the end, it didn't change my behavior, but it stopped me for a moment to look at my watch and be like, oh damn, do I have enough time to change? Yeah. So we need that. It's a good thing. It's good that I have that. I would wear all sorts of things to class but Lori keeps me, on the straight and narrow, and it's probably a really good thing. So, okay. So that's, go ahead, man.
No, I was just going to say it's fascinating. It reminded me of a conversation I had with, someone that I was Ubering. Actually, it was like an Uber conversation, and just I learned a little bit more about like the Catholic religion in a way. She was like, from her perspective, she was giving, she was comparing, Catholicism with like these other Christian religions, like a Presbyterian church, or and she was making the fundamental difference that like Catholicism has more like shame involved, and that like the Christian religion has this idea of like forgiveness, rather, instead of like shame, it's more so like come and I will like forgive. But there's like, from what I was understanding from her end, is like there's a very strong piece of like shame in like Catholicism, and how that shame actually, and people would like shame that culture, Catholicism, because of the idea that shame is so important.
Yeah.
But for her, she said it gives her like, conviction while she's like at home to not do something that maybe she shouldn't because of that, and I'm like, wow, that is so, or like shame, maybe not shame, but guilt, because like shame
guilt,
is like
shame.
paralyzing, but like, and I was like, wow, and it helped me understand like, another faith, similar to that, and I was like, wow, like it's so interesting how that is a fundamental like piece, like structure almost, and a different paradigm of like forgiveness and Christianity, like how, because she was like
other Christians, the non-Catholic Christian face, like mostly Lutheran. There's a lot of guilt and shame in Lutheranism, but still they kind of have moved away from that. Some of these televangelists, there's a lot of guilt and shame if you don't give them money to buy a new airplane. They'll throw that at you. But anyway, it does lead me. There's something for everybody, and it seems odd to build a whole religious institution of so many millions and millions of people around the idea of guilt. I mean, it's not what I would do if I were going to build it, but you know what? It works for many, many people. And so like, okay, yeah, whatever. Anyway. What I want to do is go back to this thing of Trump, which I find really interesting. I was listening to an interview with the BBC of Trump. I wish I meant to try to find it. It would take me a hot minute to find it. Hang on. I'm going to see if I can find it really fast. But what was interesting, he was talking about the UK and the king and different. Hang on. Let's try to find this. And here it is. Here it is, right here. Oh, hang on. I gotta try to find this. I was really it was such a, relatively speaking, quite a thoughtful interview. I listened to it at like 3 a.m, so understand that I might listen to it now and not think the same thing, but I was Trump, like, really, I mean, it's there's a lot of simplistic ideas in it, but was being so thoughtful, and I thought, I can see what
Trump was being so
anyway, it was really worth listening to, especially if you really dislike Trump for anybody who dislikes him, it's like, listen to this. This is like Trump at probably his best.
Wow.
At least the part that I heard about 10 minutes. And he's like trying to bring things together, and he's not being really divisive, and he's not being hateful, and he's not being all these things. Like, he's really just, really quite fascinating.
Yeah. Kind of want to find it. I'm looking for it.
I did hear that some people were complaining that Trump was kind of buddying with Putin. And one of the things that Trump has said multiple times since he's become president is that he has these conversations with Putin, that he's always open to having conversations with Putin. And he was saying, I think it was NPR who reported it, or Fox News's podcast reported it today, that he was like, yeah, I'll have these conversations. And I thought that Putin was listening, but it seems like he isn't anymore. Like, it seems like, so I've also heard, I don't think it was from the BBC, but I heard from other reports as well that, yeah, Trump is not happy with Putin right now.
Yeah, well, the idea is that he's very inconsistent. He's kind of like how people have always said he was, who worked with him back in the day. He's kind of all over the place, and he changes his mind all the time.
You're saying Trump?
Yeah, Trump, which many people could say, hey, that's a really good thing. Change your mind. And, they were trying to pin him down on, hey, how many undocumented immigrants do you have to kick out of the United States in order for you to feel like this has been a success? And he wouldn't answer really the question, but what it sounded like to me was, he's starting to see, like, okay, some of the consequences of these policies. He's starting to see them, and he's starting to realize.
He saw something. Like, what was that?
Yeah. He's starting to see, like, hey, man, we got like fruit and vegetables rotting on the vines out around the United States, man. We're gonna have to back off this a little bit, kind of stuff, right? And the point being, there's a side of him. You know what? He's like the Bible. This is what he is, right? So there's a side of him that's like the Old Testament. It's mean, and it's like, my God, how could you ever like this person? And you read the Old Testament, and God's demanding that the Israelites or the somebody-lites or the ites, I don't know, go into some city and sack it and rape and all the women and kill all the men, kind of thing. And I'm like, really? God said that? Like, wait, I don't know what story that is, but I'm like, oh man, this is it? Like, so anyway, you think, how would you ever follow a God that's so mean and awful, And then that's kind of Trump in that way. It's like, how do you follow this guy? He's so mean, my God. And nothing good can come of this, right? But then you listen to an interview like this, you see there's a different side, and it's like, no, actually, he's quite thoughtful, and he really understands that he's shaking things up. But he understands, like, yeah, well, we pushed really hard, and now we're going to back off a little bit over here, and this kind of stuff, right? Jeff, can you put up that thing with Josh Hawley? This guy. And that, yes, slide 3, that they're starting to, they push this big beautiful budget through, but they're also people are starting to say, wait, hang on a second, man, we got lost in whatever it is we got lost in, and now we're gonna have to go back to this and give some thoughts to it. Maybe we're gonna have to back off a little bit, right? So, Hawley is saying, some of these budget cuts, they might have to sort of roll them back. There's a lot of problems, man. How many people are you gonna throw off the dole? Like, where are they gonna go? What are they gonna do? You got people with food stamp. You think people? What are you gonna do? You got 1 million people who they're estimating will not have any of their economic support. Like, okay, what now? Where do you want them? What are they going to do?
Awful.
So, yeah, so people, I get that you want to like do something, but be really careful, man. It's slash and burn. You know, everything gets burned when you slash and burn. So anyway, Josh Hawley, some of these folks, and he's like a real tough guy thinker. It's like some of these folks are going to have to be like, they're going to start hearing from their constituents and realize, you know what, this is a bit of a problem. Okay, so
he's one of the main politicians that were that's advocating.
Yeah, he's a
spot, right?
super Trump guy, you know.
Right.
So anyway, this is the idea. So I never thought of this before. You have the Old Testament, Donald Trump, right? The mean, ugly, vengeful person. It's like, oh my God, who'd ever want to be this guy's friend? And then you have the New Testament side. Again, you see in that interview I just posted, you listen to him, you think, oh, this guy's pretty thoughtful. And but then you think of God. So now you got to be in. So you're going to be, and then the New Testament. So you have all the loving perspective, the Christ figure of God who comes and projects love in the world, and follow me and love the world and love your neighbor as yourself. Doesn't matter if your neighbor's an undocumented immigrant or formerly incarcerated person or through her or his trash into your yard, turn the other cheek and go over to your neighbor and make peace with them, and maybe take their trash and put it in your garbage can, you know, all these kinds of things, right? Okay, well, there we go. And that's what we're talking about here. So
it's like, are we thinking like, okay, how are people going to interpret that? Like, will they, you know, how like you read the New Testament or the Old Testament, and you internalize those values? I guess in a sense, you're saying like that's Trump could be modeling, maybe.
Yeah, well, he's not modeling it, but it just becomes that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Look, if you can, the problem is, the reason I put that interview up from the BBC is because they almost never hear any. Well, first off, there's not much out there of him just being really thoughtful and really clear and nice, you know, nice, not being a jerk. So when you get one of those, you got to really hang on to it, right? So that's one of them. And,
it's so interesting too, because I could like see someone saying like, oh, if it's just one, we had to dig for this. It's just one interview out of the multitude of things. They'd be like, do I even hold on to this?
Well, here's why though, because he plays a role, right? And his role is one of a disruptor. So it's like people who only watch videos of Social 19, they only see me in a certain way. The people assume I'm really outgoing, we have a really big personality, that I want to be the center of attention, that I like the attention, that kind of stuff. But if you actually watch more things of me, say like this, you would start to say, wait, hang on a second. But you only see that. So with Trump, a lot of us only see that disruptor part. So
you're starting to see like how people become, you know, more human or three-dimensional as you see them in like different spaces. Or they just become more humanized. In a way. Possibly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. I see Felipe joined from Brazil, and it led me to think of something. Hang on a second. I want to pull something up, Jeff, in a second, really fast.
You putting the links in YouTube chat is super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Man. Well, I was thinking about, I was just thinking about the Amazon, and I was thinking about how Brazilian politicians are really being driven by, right now, there's this kind of radical anti-environmental push that it's like, let's burn more of it down, man. And we need to make money. And yeah, I don't know where, I got to see if I can find this, something that, I found this really intense article. It might have been in the Economist. But let me just see if I can find it here.
Saying like let's build it down because just you know expand real estate, like build business on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, just a whole new world.
There's a piece from 2022 from the Washington Post about Amazon's deforestation. I'm not sure if that's what.
No, this was something I just grabbed onto. I think it was from The Economist. Just really, it's just really sad. I mean, it makes me feel quite unsettled.
From 8 days ago, The Economist, Brazil is bashing its patron saints of the environment.
Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. You could put that up.
Put it in chat.
Yeah, man. Anyway, so I was really just struck by that. Man, makes me unsettled. Hey, put can you put up the fifth slide, by the way, Jeff?
Yep.
Yeah. That was the article. It was from The Economist. If you don't read The Economist, by the way, it's really a good read. It's pretty thoughtful, very moderate, really smart. I've been reading it for years. So one of the things that we're seeing with the big beautiful budget is they're also going to put an excise tax on remittances. In remittances, what we refer to the money that immigrants, in particular, immigrants both legal and undocumented illegal, send back home. And remittances become a form of foreign aid, and a lot of people rely on them. And so they're putting this excise tax on remittances, and this is what this says. It's the impact on the gross national income of those countries and how much it's going to shrink, which they were estimating it was going to be much more than it is because the tax was going to be higher than it is. But nonetheless, that's pretty serious. And for people, and so I think we don't think about this, but once again, this idea that, the United States, we have been a beacon for so many folks and so important in so many ways. And we give back to the world and people don't realize that. So
the other, Sam, what is this?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Like the 0.6, 0.4.
Yeah, that's the percentage. Saying? That's the percentage decrease in their in the gross national income. So this becomes like an excise tax. So if you wire money, if you're an immigrant from El Salvador, Guatemala, and you wire money home to your family, you work here, you wire money home, you're going to pay a tax on that. So whatever it is, it's either a bank or it's MoneyGram or Western Union or whatever, you're going to pay a tax. Right. And that tax goes back to the US government. It's kind of like, man, come on. Like, what are we doing here? It's like, we're just trying to grab everything that we possibly can.
Even the things that are supporting, like that we need so deeply, it seems like. Support.
Well, I don't think we really think about it. First off, if you ask Americans how much of our budget goes toward foreign aid, what's the average answer? Do you know? If you ask 1,000 people, well, what percentage of our budget goes toward foreign aid, other countries, helping out other countries, doing stuff? What do you, the average answer?
The percentage of aid that's going to foreign countries, like in total?
No, the percentage of the budget, of the U.S. budget every year, right? So we're spending money on all sorts of things in the United States each year. And what percentage of it goes to other countries for their needs and not ours? And so if you asked 100 people,
25%?
let's say, what do you think it would be?
25%?
Yeah, it's about 26%. So that's the average answer that people will give. They think that on average, 26% of our budget goes to foreign aid. The real answer is 1%, but people go as high as like something like 10% of Americans think it's over 50%. You know what I mean? You imagine how deluded you have to be, like, or how something you have to be to, like, think that half of our budget goes to other countries. Like, I don't know how you could possibly think something like that, but you do. You know, people think lots of things,
Really?
right?
What makes it so surprising for you?
Well, it's like saying that still thinking the earth is flat. You know what I mean? Or thinking that
Wait, how do you jump to that?
the sun revolves around the earth. Like in this modern present day, you think the sun revolves around the earth. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my God, no,
So,
that's not
okay.
how it works, right?
So you think
Or
like I'm just thinking about how they talk, there's a huge like all the talk about the amount of funding that goes to like Ukraine per se, or like
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
breaking news headlines that are like, this is how much money that's going over to these countries. Like you don't think
yeah,
those are like that's justifiable? Like even though they should maybe doing more research, like not saying it,
yeah,
but those big headlines don't maybe influence what that average number is
yeah,
based on like those headlines. That's
yeah.
what I'm just thinking about that. I wonder if that has influence.
Well, yeah, I think it definitely has. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think it really is. I think it is like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, no,
Yeah.
Ian, it's about 1%.
I think
Is
it's
what it is.
0.8% or 8.8 something percent.
Well, it depends how you measure it.
Right.
There are a lot of things, right? So a lot of foreign aid doesn't. Uh, do you include military dollars? Do you include, how much? How do we do it, right? Like, what do we want to say? And what about all the tied foreign aid? Where we're giving. Okay, we're giving some country our old weapons. Do we write that down? Do we not write it down? What about the fact that we give grain? We're giving a shipment of 10 shipments of grain to Sudan. Okay, so how do we calculate that? Because the aid tax dollars are going to the farmers who are growing it. We're going to use a U.S. trucking and rail company to get it to the port. We're going to use U.S. owned ships to take it over there, dock workers to load it, ships to take it over to Sudan. We're going to pay the ships. We're going to do all of that. Then once we get to Sudan, we're going to use in many cases U.S. contractors to get it from the port to wherever it's got to go in Sudan. Okay, now. So even though we're technically paying for all of that's going back to the U.S. economy. So the taxpayers pay our taxes, and we take all that money out of the tax pool of taxes, and we're giving it to all these different American entities, like the farmers and the railroad workers and the truckers and the port and the dock workers and shipping industry, that kind of stuff. So is that really aid? Like, is that foreign aid, or is that just giving money back to us? But it's calculated as part of foreign aid, you see. So like, all right, so that's the thing. These things get really, you got to really think about that, man. And so Elijah, when I get what you're saying, like you read the headlines and you think like, oh my God, all this aid going to Ukraine or whatever. But I guess for me, I have to think back to when I was like in high school, and I didn't know, maybe until I was about 20. When I was 20, that's when I woke up, right? So pre-20. And someone asked me that question, what would have been my answer? It definitely would not have been 1%. It would have been above 1%. But the thought that I might have said 50% frightens me. Really. Like, oh God, could I have said that? Like
50 is a lot.
Sends a shiver up my spine that anybody could think that, but maybe I would have. I don't know. I don't know what the condition would be under which I would have said, okay, 50%. And then, like, we have such an obligation, and I think the administration does, by the way. And I would think, but they're trying to win, right? Whether it's the Democrats or Republicans, but you have an obligation to educate your people instead of just trying to manipulate them so that they support you. It's like, get on the airwaves and tell the American people, listen, y'all, it's 1%. Talk about what I just talked about. Most of that money, or a huge part of it, goes back into the U.S. economy directly. Oftentimes we're, stopping really terrible things from happening in other places in the world and that kind of stuff. So it's, think about it thoughtfully, but we don't do that. I just got an ad too, Dawn. So yeah, got my second one, my third one actually. So Jeff, it was just that one at 6 minutes in that was really interesting. Yeah.
I don't know.
I get that often, by the way. Almost every time I have an ad, and I'm logging into YouTube. I'm logged in not as a premier subscriber. I'm logged in as a subscriber, and I'm also like a member of the channel. I subscribe to our channel, and I don't know. I give money to our channel. I give money to our channel, Elijah.
I thought memberships got rid of ads, but maybe that's just like Twitch subscriptions just gets rid of ads for that channel. I'm not sure how. I know memberships, like, you get extra content or early content, and it's for our channel, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. Okay, so there we go. There's that. Graphs. Can you go back here? Can you put that one up about Snap? You know what? I put the wrong one up. Hold on. I'm going to have to fix this. Hold on.
One moment.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, hold tight. It's going to take me a second. Hold on. I'm going to do this. Man.
Shout out to the podcast listeners who don't skip this part.
Okay, there you go.
Let's have Sam play drums for members. I like that idea.
Yeah. Wish I had some drums to play.
Okay.
All right. So this I was, kind of digging through the big beautiful bill, and this is I was, really trying to dig away at people who were very thoughtfully looking at it, and I found something in The Economist. And again, The Economist it's good. I like it. By the way, it's pouring down rain here, Jeff. So we definitely have thunder. We have lightning. So it's not impossible that I'll get kicked off here.
Okay. I mean, we're a little over an hour, and the rain's about to hit here too, so we might hit a double whammy. If we both lose power, I think it's meant to end the stream.
There we are.
If God takes us off the airwaves, then we'll call it quits for the week.
Yeah, she's going to be really angry at me calling her a psychopath, or I don't know, whatever is it. The Old Testament God, not the New Testament. The Old Testament God. You were mean. Yeah, mean and vengeful. Oh my God, how terrible. All right, so they put together, The Economist put this together, and these are the losses, man, and the way this big beautiful bill is going to hurt people, and funding cuts, and what we're looking at, because the federal government is going to take money away, so the state can make it up. But that's really difficult for the state to do. So you have SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and Medicaid cuts. And the darkest red here are the of course that means the highest cuts. And man, this is really serious, right? That you're really gonna really go after people, man. So, but
Do you see
I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe it's nothing. It's necessary. The point being, it's going to create a lot of misery, and people are going to really be caught up with this, right?
Do you have any idea what's going into like which states are red and which states are, dark red and those that are light? Do you know possibly
I
what
think
goes
it's
into
just a percentage of funds that the federal government accounts for. So some states, the state itself pays most of the cost of their welfare policies, food and nutrition and federal Medicaid. So in other states, they really rely on the federal government. So they're going to have to step up. And
so it's really based off of how much the state is providing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not really
And also how much they're willing to pay out. Some states pay more money than others, right? California is actually, they pay, well, it's expensive to live in California, and California pays more money, relatively speaking, than a lot of states. It's pretty inexpensive to live in Mississippi and Maine. Housing in Maine, housing in Mississippi, Alabama is a fraction of what it is in California, right? So, increasingly Colorado. And so these kinds of, or Delaware and New Jersey and Massachusetts and Rhode Island, kind of thing. So, so, it's a thing, man. I just kind of digging away at that and thinking, wow, we are really disrupting so many aspects of life itself. And, so I'm not even judging it. That's not even to say it's a good thing or it's a bad thing or whatever. It's just it's very disruptive. I don't have to say it's good or bad. That doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't. These are expected to start in 2026, I think, right? And but they aren't able to as kind of they're actually going to move up. So it's in 2027 actually is when they're fully in effect. So yeah, it's really
they have it up until 2027.
Yeah. Okay, but here, Jeff, put the one up about household income. This is actually quite fascinating. So this is the University of U of Penn. There's a group of people at U of Penn that really put their heads together and said, let's figure this thing out, right? So naturally, these are really, I kind of looked through the list to see who these folks were, and these are some really thoughtful and smart people, right? But wow, man, the changes to household income as a result of the bill and what it means. And you really look at the first so here's what it means. Anyway, hang on a second. So the Americans earning under like 18,000, okay, so under 18,000, that's that first line, would lose $165 in 2027, which isn't very much money. It's only little over 1% of their income. And then by 2033, right? So what is that? 7 years later, then it goes up to $1,300, about 7.5%. $1,300. So they lose. The losses increase to $1,300. That's the poorest of the poor, right? It's like, man, I thought, the folks, are voting for this with the idea that they're going to get something out of it, right? And then, the next quintile, right, are also losing money. So that's 18,000 to 53,000 in household income. They're going to lose a little bit less, but the richest 0.1%. So this is going to be like the final group there, right? The final one. So these are people that earn more than households that earn more than $4.5 million, right? They're going to gain 300,000 by 2027, which is only a 2.3% increase, right?
Where are you getting the numbers from? Do you have that already?
Yeah, I was looking at the report that they did.
Okay.
So like a lot of it is indirect for the people at the very top, right? Corporate taxes and this kind of thing, right? But then taxes on stocks and the stuff that we expect wealthier households to get. But the gains are serious, and they'll shrink over time, right? And then other reforms, these gains will shrink, and then other reforms kick in, of course. But the question becomes, why is it? How is that? And how is it that the people who are arguing, I mean, whether that's good or bad, you can make all sorts of arguments about how people at the very top, give them a bunch of money back and tell them to go do something with that money, not buy yachts and not buy, renew their membership at the country club for $20,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is, or 100,000. But actually go out and create jobs with it. I mean, this is the idea, right? But you think like, wow, we're so busy thinking about Epstein. It's like we ought to be like really reading these reports and going like, hang on a second, man, hang on. This is like not something we should be turning away from.
In fact, the poor will be losing like 5% of what they bring in, right, up until 2033.
Well,
right?
it's a it's just really, I don't know. It's just really striking to me, man. Yeah, it's very striking to me. But this is the world we're in. These things happen all the time. So whether it's the Clinton administration tax cuts or the Obama administration tax cuts or whatever it is, it's just that it is what it is, right? And it's really a kick in the rear end to people at the bottom who are thinking.
This kind of goes into I think you maybe said this last week, of just how like systems unchanging, doesn't matter who goes in it, you know what I mean? The stability of the system, like there's always something new. But it's like similar. You brought up like the Obama cuts, like the Clinton cuts, the Trump ones. Even if it's a different person, the system always, is kind of.
Well, the system is people,
consistent.
Right? And the people who are making decisions in the system are going to be people that think in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, it's funny that, rich people, it takes a certain number of, I don't know. I mean, in the end, if you're really wealthy, you got to give it away anyway. So that's we see that with these folks, right? And wealthy people give a lot away as well. I mean, even in the United States, we are a volunteerist society. Americans volunteer as much or more than any other nation on earth. Well, in part, that's because we're not paying taxes for the services that we would be paying taxes to fulfill, right? So we volunteer at soup kitchens and at, like food pantries and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Because the government doesn't have any money to fund these things. Whereas in another society, those would be run by the government. So we don't need volunteers. But because our tax base is so low, we have to be a very volunteeristic society. And we do. Americans are very willing to volunteer. And we do that. But, it doesn't mean it's a good thing necessarily. Well, you could argue it's a good thing. I mean, I don't know. Get people out there to help one another, especially if you're a Christian nation, right? Help your neighbor. right? Do as Jesus told you to do that, damn it. So go help your neighbor. So there you go.
Is the conversation now about like also you're volunteering or like how much you're giving away? Like, is it not the fact that, now that it's almost like the standard, like if you're rich to like give away, but now isn't the argument like how much are you giving away or how much
at
should
some
you,
level.
if you should at all?
At some level. And how much should you give away? Like, but the problem is this: you can't tell people what to do. Like nobody can tell me, hey, listen, what percentage of my income should I give to somebody else? Like that's just not in the conversation for anyone. In another society, in a Muslim society, you have the idea of zakat, right? That each year you give away 1% of your wealth, which includes your income, your wealth for that year. But you give it away, and that's how it operates. So, and there are ways around that, or times when you don't give it away, but that's pretty cool, really. It's called zakat.
Right. Is there other statistics of like how much are current, like 0.1%, or 0.01%, how much they give away of their annual income?
The richest what?
Like the richest 1%. Are there statistics of like how much they usually give?
I'm sure there are,
annually?
Hang on. Let me ask ChatGPT. Well, it's really hard to set. It would be impossible to measure that. Let me just say that. So
one of the things that makes
you can change your finances, right?
Well, it kind of changing it, but really, like you as the CEO of Amazon, for your position, you get paid $40,000 a year for your tax on that $40,000. Now, if you sell your stocks, then you also get paid, or you also have to pay taxes on the stocks that you sell. But any stocks that you hold, you don't have to pay taxes on that unless if you sell it. So someone like
it gets it just gets so complicated.
So that's how like someone in the 1%, like Jeff Bezos, for instance, if he doesn't sell any stocks, which this year he's already sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of stocks, so he's gonna be paying taxes on that. But if he doesn't sell any stock, then he pays $40,000 worth of income for that year, and it doesn't matter how much he spends, because he could have money in his bank accounts from years prior, but that year, he's paying almost nothing.
Yeah, these guys they really rigged the system. Anyway, this assessment came up with $190 billion. The high net worth individuals gave away in 2022. So it's probably pretty much that every year. These are really affluent.
That's the total.
The top 1%. But who knows what that means, because you can't really measure.
Yeah.
You understand, like it becomes so difficult to measure. But it's not like you're not. You know what I mean? But how as a society do we assess that? And is that what we want to do? Do we want to have do we want to just? How do we make this work, man? Or do we want to step in and have a tax base that says no, everyone's going to pay 45% in taxes or something? And then who decides how that money is going to get spent? So this is I don't know, man.
Ideally, in the United States, the House of Representatives decides how it gets spent.
Yeah.
For those not in the United States, the House of Representatives in the Constitution is the part of government that has to initiate any type of budget legislation at all. Has to go through the House first.
Yeah. But in the end, we have to all agree on it. So it's really, that's why I don't weigh in on this stuff very much, because it's way above my pay grade, and I'm not interested in just wasting my time yammering away at something that, Okay, listen, I think we've been at this an hour and a half. I think I got through all my slides that I thought about talking about today. We'll I'll come with some slides next week. I'll probably have some golf scores to report by next week. So I did shoot 4 pars yesterday, which is pretty good given how hot it was. But I also shot 4 bogeys, probably 4 bogeys. Yeah, thank you. That probably should have been pars, but except I'm not a good golfer. So, all right, y'all. We'll head out and we'll see where we go from here. Thanks, everyone. And
Slides were great. Those were cool.
Yeah, I like it. Thanks, man. Be well, everyone, and keep watching the news. Check out Squid Game. We just started watching there's 6 final episodes of Squid Game, and last night Lori and I watched the first of the last 6 episodes.
Nice.
So, see what happens.
It's good.
Did you watch
like
it? Have you watched it?
I saw it. I haven't put it on.
Did you watch the
I
first
watched
2?
The first one. The first one, I didn't really watch the second one, so then I just didn't watch the third one. Yeah, but
Okay,
it was good. Yeah, so I just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah. All right.
You liked it though? It was good.
Well,
First episode?
it's complicated. It's very complicated, but it's getting really interesting. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out why it's so big.
The people are addicted to it. Yeah,
dude,
they're
so
super
much,
into it.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I'll report on it when we finish. All right, y'all. I will practice my putting. Yeah. It's those 50-foot putts that kill me, though, because I get on the green, but I'm still 50 feet away from the flag. And then that's like a 3-putt almost for sure. But I'm starting to get to the place where I can hit a 50-foot putt and get it within 5 feet of the hole, which is really, really good. That's all I try to do. So,
as long as there's no dust ups, yeah.
All right, we'll see you, everybody. Jeff, we'll be in touch tomorrow at some point. Elijah, peace out.
Peace.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Be well.